E-Filing Coordinator for the state of Montana. And they're going to tell us everything we need to know about e-filing. Oh, thank you, Rex.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. I assume in this nice intimate setting, everyone can hear pretty well. As we always do, if you have a cell phone, please silence that. And we have quite a bit of information to get to, so we're going to do our best to get through that. We really want to save a nice period at the end of this for questions and answers, because there is so much information to get through. We think that's very, very valuable. But with that in mind, we would ask that jot down if you have a question and then save it for the end. As Lisa said, I'm Rex Rank. I'm the Deputy Clerk of the Supreme Court. We have been e-filing at the Supreme Court since November 25th, 2014, so just slightly over a year. So right now we're the only court that's e-filing, and so far it's going good. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm gonna turn it over to Lois here, who we're so fortunate to have. There's nobody in the state that knows more about e-filing than Lois Slyer, who is our e-filing project manager. Okay, go ahead, Lois.
Rex always says such nice things about me. Love doing these with him. So what we're going to try to do today is just what is on the board. And again, we have given this plea in the past, but in a little bit elongated time period. So I'm going to be going through things pretty quickly today. We want to give you a little bit of background of the basics and benefits, talk to you about what the pilot looks like, how that's going at the moment, how you can find information about e-filing, how to get registered. We're going to walk you through a very quick demonstration of how to get registered and how to find registration instructions. And Rex is going to give you a little demonstration of how to file at the Supreme Court. And as Rex said, we hope to have a little bit of time for questions and answers. So we just wanted to talk quickly about some benefits and basics. Many of you have probably had some interaction with the federal court system, filing with the federal court system, and so what I hear from around the state is people who are familiar, who are doing that, find some tremendous benefits. What we think we'll be accomplishing to a great extent is safety. What happens right now with a piece of paper, the official record is on a piece of paper, and at least in the district courts, those things get lost. And sometimes they go in a judge's car, not to put a judge down or pick on them or anything, but we have, especially on the eastern part of the state, we have judges who have to travel a lot. So these files go in the backseat of somebody's car, and that is where the official record is, and they're not accessible otherwise. So you can think of Hurricane Katrina and a variety of other, natural disasters where hundreds and thousands of cases are simply lost. The e-filing system, the record, the official court record is electronic. So we have backup and backup upon backup, and we can keep that electronic record much safer than anything that's on paper. It's convenient. The system is a web-based system, so it is available practically 24/7. There'll be a few times when the system will be down for some maintenance or because the internet is out. And the further convenience is that you won't need to be taking that trip to the court. So the system also provides legal service. Not only are you taking a piece of paper to the counter, so to speak, at a certain clerk of court's office, but legal service also goes out through the system to other registered e-filers. So we'll talk about that as we go. We talked about our paper-on-demand system. So our goal in designing the system has been to keep the record, electronic from end to end. Meaning that as an attorney, you can create a file. You've got an electronic file, and instead of putting that on a piece of paper, it can actually be filed. It will be received by the clerk's office. It will be usually accepted. There's some possibility that it will be rejected. And then it can go directly to the judge for signature, for judge review, etc. And then is completely taken care of in electronic form. So that's what we call a paper-on-demand system. It will eventually be available at all Montana courts. Now, of course, we can't just flip a switch. You understand there's a lot of moving pieces here and a large community in which we're going to be active. So we're walking into this with a pilot, which I'll talk about in just a moment. One of the important things that I want you to know is that it's not mandatory. So if you are one of those people who says, I'm not going to use it, not going to use it, well, you'll continue to interact with the court on a piece of paper. However, the court may be interacting with you through electronic means. So once the official court record is electronic, your access to those cases may be through an electronic medium rather than coming to the court's office. So another important point is that it's not a public access system. We have been soundly criticized for not being a public access aspect of this project, pulling that together. Public access of court records is a different monster than the one we are working with right at the moment. We just drew a line and said the e-filing system is not going to deal with public access. Public access will stay the same as it is right now. So right now, if you want a court record, you go to the clerk of court, and depending on confidentiality rules and so on and so forth, you have access to that record. That will not change with the e-filing system. Want to talk a little bit about how the pilot has been going at the Supreme Court?
Yeah, so just very briefly, phase one of the pilot is what we've loosely termed as prosecutor-initiated cases. So these are the specific case types: criminal cases, abuse and neglect cases, juvenile cases, mental commitment, and developmental disability cases. And we did that just briefly. The concept of our plan was that we would be able to have kind of loosely defined user groups, whereby in our initial pilot, we could get feedback from these cases, which are largely handled by the Attorney General's office and the Office of Appellate Defender. It's not to the exclusion of anyone else who has a case in this case type. But as I mentioned, we began just a little bit over a year ago. As of this morning, we've had 5,189 e-filings. And that is in 493 of our cases. And what that amounts to is just a little over 50% of the Montana Supreme Court caseload is being done through e-filing. I think Lois is going to talk a little bit about the next phase of this.
Well, when can we file in other courts, of course, is the big question. And there's no doubt that we are quite a bit behind what our schedule was planned to be. So we had originally thought that we would be live at some district courts and some limited jurisdiction courts as well. We are not today. We're still going strong at the Supreme Court. We are actively each and every day working on getting our first pilot turned on, which will be at the Missoula County District Court, closely followed by the Mineral County District Court. So we have a large court and a little rural court as well, with judges presiding over folks, so that we can get a really, really good idea of what the system needs to do throughout the entirety of the state of Montana. And that just reminds me that I want to say something about that. The vision, it was not my vision. That belonged to actually Karen Nelson, who was the Chief Information Officer of the Montana Judiciary some time ago. She's retired now, but we're doing something that other states simply are not doing. We are putting in a system that will work throughout the state at all levels. And so I go to the national conferences and I hear about what other people are doing. Oh yeah, we've had e-filings almost since the 90s. Oh, yeah, but you can't e-file an affidavit. Oh, no, there's no service. So they'll tell you all of these things that, to me, a standard e-filing system has to do. This is what an e-filing system provides to you. And that's how we're approaching it in the state of Montana. We're getting a really, really solid system that is designed to meet the needs of the entire court community throughout the state, rather than doing a little piecemeal here and a little piecemeal here. But we are walking into it as we need to. So phase 2, we're also actively working on phase 2 of the pilot. Phase 2 is a little more difficult. We're bringing in the wider, instead of just government to government filers, largely. We're bringing in a larger attorney community into this process, as well as introducing filing fees. So as we get into the general civil case files, as you're filing, you'll be able to pay your filing fees. You'll need to pay your filing fees as you make that submission, so that as that filing arrives in the clerk's queue, that filing is paid for and taken care of.
And I think it's safe to say the plan for the rollout of the civil cases will be the same. So we'll start at the Supreme Court and then move on to the other courts. One thing about the concept of the operations that Lois mentioned, e-filing is not mandatory right now, and as each judicial district, once e-filing becomes available, it'll be up to the judge or judges and the elected clerks in that judicial district to basically agree that they want to e-file. They'll sign a contract with the Office of Court Administration. So that's how it could go out in courts across the country. Let's see what we have next here. Oh, okay. All right. So www.courts.mt.gov. You can go there. You can get a log on to the actual system, and over on the right-hand side, there's tons of information. There's court policy that tells you which courts you can file in on which cases, which types of cases at any given time. That will always be in place. How to register. So we're going to go quickly through this today, but you'll have registration instructions that are there. Temporary electronic filing rules. These are the ones that form the legal foundation for the dependency of the pilot. And the technical policy manual, which basically gives you, here's how to do this filing. Newsletters, other reports. As we go, we'll be developing videos, training videos, and a variety of other informational materials. So that'll be there as well. So www.courts.mt.gov. This is one of the
links that you'll find when you go to courts.mt.gov is this link that allows you to log on directly from there to the e-filing, the live e-filing site. If you don't want to go to courts.mt.gov, you can log on directly using this link, https://mtefile.courts.mt.gov. That is the system if you want to put some kind of a link or a shortcut on your desktop.
Is this part of ePass? It kind of looks like an ePass.
So ePass forms the identity management for the system. So if you're a Montana State employee, you would click this, and then you have a choice to log on using your Montana State employee ID, which you would use, or creating an ePass account. So we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Is it on the main ePass menu?
If you are registered, it is. If you are not registered, it is not.
Okay, so same link. Let's talk a little bit about registration. As you know, as we've mentioned, it is, we're encouraging everybody to register now. It's open for registration. As was just foreshadowed, there are two ways that the system will allow you to have the username and password. I see a lot of government. How many are government employees, state employee? Okay, the vast majority here. So what's nice is you will use what Lois was just talking about, the Active Directory, which is just your username. It's a C number for us in courts. So, the same thing you use to sign on to your system, you will use to access the e-filing system. If you don't have the government state employee, then you're going to create this ePass account. And I think that's what these first few slides, are about. Now this is, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because it's pretty darn straightforward. So you're going to enter in your information here, and of course your primary email is the important part here. Creating an ePass account, you're going to have to answer some security questions, just like you would creating almost any other. So once you have the ePass account, the e-filing system is going to ask you to choose a role, and this is where this is important to choose the correct role. For most of you who are attorneys, of course, you're going to choose the attorney role. But there's also a role as a prosecutor. Difference being that, as we know, Montana, large state, we have folks who are part-time county attorneys. And so they may have staff that are not privy to see, they may also have a private practice. So they may have staff that can't see the work of the private attorney and so on, vice versa, right? So in that instance, those individuals will have to file or register twice, once as an attorney and then once as a prosecutor. Right now, we have all of the assistant attorney generals, prosecutors, registered as prosecutors. County attorney's offices registered as prosecutors. But for the vast majority of attorneys registering, they're going to need to choose the attorney role. If you are support staff, how many people are support staff here today? Okay, good. You will have to register with your own username and password. No sharing of these, you have your own. Once you register, I'll show you, you'll be eligible to be assigned by the attorney or the principal, we may call, as support staff for that individual. All right, let's go on to the next screen. For attorneys, when you register, there's some important things to note. So in this instance, you've gotten to this page either through your state employee or through the ePass account that you have created. This information has to match exactly the way your name appears on the Montana Roll of Attorneys. Now, you know how we send out from this office, the clerk of the Supreme Court, your license receipt, it's like a wallet card, that's a handy thing. So if you're unsure, certainly you can give us a call, because we have the roll, and we can tell you exactly how you entered your name. Meaning that, let's say, here we have the example of Alice, first name, someone is the last name. Let's say she had a middle name of J, period. You have to type in J, period, okay? Has to match exactly. Once you've chosen to roll as attorney, you will then be given this field to enter your bar information. So, your bar number, right? So this is the way the system is going to validate you as an attorney, and will know that you are who you say you are. The temporary e-filing rules, which are also available on the website and on the login page, make clear that your signature is your username and password. Okay, it's important, of course, to have all of this information correct. All right, so then going through the rest of the page here, filling in the information, you'll want to know that when you agree to the terms and conditions here, you are agreeing to receive notice of service, notification of service through the e-filing system. That's part of what you're agreeing to. So one of the things that we'll show you is that even though you're getting your notification sent to the email address, the system, when you e-file, will actually attach the certificate of service if you to the last page of the document you're filing. The information you put in your address here, that's what will be displayed. So if you want to use a firm name or your chief counsel for Department of Transportation and you want that to display on your service, that's where you would enter that information. Okay, let's go on. Okay, in this instance, I have registered under the role as authorized staff. Okay, I just give that as my example there. In this instance, what this screen talks about is where you have someone who is registered, as I have, as an authorized staff, and then you have the attorney who's already registered. How do you go about adding that person? It's very simple link. It's from this registration homepage. Here is the name of the attorney in the upper right corner. There is let's see if I go back one. Yeah. This is my account page, isn't it, Lois?
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, so underneath this drop down in the upper right, one of the choices you have is to access your account, where you can update all this information. You get married, your name changes, or whatever the case would be, different address. This is where you would manage your account through my account. Through that same page is where, as an attorney, I'm going to have an option here to add my support staff. It's just a link that will show up down here. Authorized staff, you don't have the link, obviously. So by clicking the link there, in this case, here's an attorney, Michael Moore. He's clicked to add staff here. He's going to add me, types in the last name, clicks on search, and because I have registered, I appear. And so all he has to do is select me and save. Once that has happened, I can see and have all the same functionality that Michael Moore does. So, as attorneys, you should know that. You got to make sure your staff. Now, there's great convenience for that. When we were doing the demonstration with the court, when they were adding law clerks, we would say, okay, they've got the ability, but not the authority. And don't want them filing orders and so on and so forth. But there's great convenience that way. For those who are authorized staff, you could be an authorized staff for several different attorneys. And when you are doing work for that attorney, you will have an option, again, up under your name. You'll see that in this instance, I'm the authorized staff, and the name of the person for whom I am now signed in for appears underneath. So I can always know which attorney I'm doing work for. And if I need to do work for another attorney, I have an option under this drop-down to select or switch user, which gives me the list of all of the attorneys that have gone out and selected me to be authorized staff. I just have to simply click it, and I think we have instances of 10, 12 attorneys over in the Attorney General's office. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our demonstration. Do you have anything you'd like to add before we do this?
If you need help with registration, you can call Rex, you can call me. On the final slide, you'll have contact information for both of us. If you have questions, if you want a copy of this slideshow, I know it doesn't read very well on the paper. I always find it frustrating as the filing program manager to print things out on a piece of paper. But so I kind of squished it in there. I know it doesn't read well, but you can always contact us. So we went through the registration very quickly, just to give you an idea of what is there. Some of you need to think about how you're going to have your office before you. So, we can help you with that based on what we know the appellate defender's office has done and the Attorney General's office has done. Just call us if you have any questions. But what we really want to talk about now, Rex is going to do a demo for you of filing. We're not going to get into any of this court processing and justice judge processing. We're just going to run out of time first. But there's a few little twerks when you're filing electronic documents. You need to know a few things about your documents, some changes that we'll make. What the certificate of service looks like, how that's generated, so that you know what to do there, and how that service is accomplished. So those are the kinds of things that we won't be getting into doing district court filing or anything, but we'll look quickly at Supreme Court filing on an existing case.
Okay, so from here, I'm going to escape and go out to E-File. Okay, so here I am at my E-Filing login screen. Log in. Okay, so here's the screen where we should be familiar with. You've got two choices. Okay, I'm going to log in with my state employee account. We're using our development site, so the information here is all dummy data and such. Okay, so here I've landed at my home screen. I am signed in as a support staff. So again, here's my drop down, what I mentioned earlier. I can switch user. Allow me to do that. And these are the attorneys, and in this instance also for testing justices, for 10 justices. Nobody's user page should ever look like this. Science staff. You have everybody, but for testing, I get it. So, all right, I'm going to choose Michael Moore, who is an attorney, and I've come to do a filing. There are two ways I can get to my case to file or create the filing. I can choose here, create filing, which is going to ask me what court I want to use. I use Montana Supreme Court. And I can choose to file either on an existing case or create a new case. All right, I'm going to file on an existing case, and to do so, I would just simply type in the number, and then I would be at that case and would be able to create the file. The second way I'm going to show you to access a case is by a simple case search. I'm going to click here. Again, I have to choose the court. Montana Supreme Court. There's all this information that are filters. I can search by party. You can see case number, case is closed, open, and so forth. But I'm just going to click search really quickly. And now, let's see, here I have all of my cases. So as an attorney or staff, once you log in, you can use this as your access to your cases. I'm going to use this case, State versus Arson, as my example case. And by clicking on the case, you now see the docket. What you'll see here, once you're in, are all of the cases. How many people are familiar with our public view docket at the Supreme Court? Okay, you'll note that on the public view docket, you are not able to access parts of attachments, exhibits, parts of the lower court record that we just don't publish for reasons of confidentiality in case there's something in there. That's a policy choice. But you as the attorney or support staff, because you are the counsel of record or the party on the case, you have access to all the documents. Okay? That's the gatekeeping. So a person who needed to file on a case that they were not a party or counsel of record could not access the case through a case search or see the case. They would have to choose create filing and know the number. Let's say you wanted to participate as an amicus. You're not a party on the case. If you know the number, you can file your motion to participate. But you do not see the case. Everybody kind of clear on that? Okay. All right. So in this instance, now I've opened this case up. Here's this big button under this information, case information, create e-file. So I'm in the case. I'm going to create the filing here. It already has all this information. I'm going to file a motion for extension of time. Not that anybody's ever done that, but this is a handy one. So I've chosen the filing type, the subtype. These should be fairly intuitive. If you're confused, you can always contact us. And if you get it wrong, don't worry about it. The clerk's office has the ability to override and put the correct docket entry type and subtype in. This is just a way so that your e-filing meshes with the case management system that we use at the Supreme Court. This one's pretty easy. Extension of time for free. Okay, so it's going to ask you, you have some choices. You can request an emergency filing. It doesn't mean it is, but you can at least, what it does, it flags things for us in the clerk's office. That, hey, the party thinks this is time sensitive. You have to know who you're representing, which is not too hard. Generally, you get that one done. So you're filing this on behalf of. Moving to the next screen. You'll notice as we go through, there's these little arrows, which they call breadcrumbs. And you can move from one breadcrumb to the next. You can go back, forward. Oh, I forgot. I'm on behalf of so-and-so. But now I'm on the upload document portion. Here, I'm going to browse out to grab my document. Now, there are some things that, did we bring that?
You know, Rex, I added it to one of our PowerPoint slides a little bit later than this. So,
oh, okay. All right.
Why don't you go
Yeah,
ahead
I'll go
and walk all the way through this, and then
okay, we'll talk about that. All right, so here I want to go out to my desktop, and I want to see my testing docs. All right, so here I got to choose my motion that I prepared. Very quickly, about the motion, the system will accept Word documents from the native format, later versions, probably 2007, or recent versions.
2007. So.
Yeah. Word Perfect document, if you still use Word Perfect, again, later versions. And of course, PDF. Those are essentially the three types. And I'll remind you here, I have my motion prepared. I do not have a separately prepared certificate of service, because the system is going to do that. Add that. So now I know that if I don't add a proposed order, I'll get this rejected, because the rules require a proposed order. So here's this link, add another document. I'm going to click there. I'm given the choice here of have to name this in some way. You'll see proposed order there. Multiple parts have to do more with file size. If something is so large you can't get it filed, that would be something there. Related documents is kind of a catch-all. But I'm going to choose proposed order here. I'm going to browse out and grab my proposed order. Just grab this. I've loaded in both of those. I have the option here to request confidential. If this document is supposed to be confidential, you can request that, and you have to give a reason for it, or local rule, statute, court order. Okay? All right. I can also exclude from service this document if it's something the other side should not see when you are serving. You can exclude this. It doesn't happen in our court. Okay, going to move on. Okay, now we're on to the next breadcrumb here. So you'll see, this is the information that you put in, which will get displayed on your certificate of service. Okay? The attorney of record that the clerk has from the case management system is going to get pulled back to you automatically. Okay? You have an option to see here. This is, Eileen Joyce is who we have representing the state of Montana. We meaning the clerk of the Supreme Court. The service method will default to e-service if they are registered e-filers. Okay? If I needed to add someone to the service just for this document, I can add them right here. Add other recipients. Let's type in a name here. Okay. No records are found. Okay. So what that was doing was searching to see if the person I want to add is a registered e-filer. And if they are a registered e-filer, all you have to do is click and add them, and it's a wonderful, easy thing to do. Jordan Kilby showed up. I'm going to add Jordan Kilby as another recipient to this motion. You see that it also shows up. If I added somebody who was not a registered e-filer, here I have to type it in and give the address and so on and so forth. You add that person, and now you can see it defaults to conventional service. Or you have an option if you have an arrangement for email delivery. We notice a lot of state agencies have an agreement, hey, you can email me this, and that will count for your service. So in this instance, let's say there's an agreement here. Okay. All right. So now I've completed my service page. One thing to note, if one of the participants on the other side, just one, is a registered e-filer, then the date that goes on your certificate of service is the date you submit this e-filing. One of the carrots of the e-filing system is that if you are an e-filer, you can file up to 11/59/59 on the date and still get your filing date if it's a working day, right? If it's 12:01 Saturday morning, you're going to get Monday's filing date. But at 11:59 on Friday, you'll get this. The reason I say this, though, is that your date goes on your certificate of service, where you are essentially saying you've served the other side on this date. You know, if it's 11:59, that could be, your certificate of service would be dubious if you had a conventional service. So if everyone is an e-filer, no problems at all. Your service is completed on that date. If no other party is a registered e-filer, then you have to choose, just like you would now in paper, a date, the certified date of service to go on your certificates. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, now I'm brought to a summary screen. Here's my motion. Here's my proposed order. I can review everything here. I can go back to any of those if I wish. And now it's like shopping at Amazon. You can add it to your cart. Right now, there's fee information here. Right now, the pilot one, there are no fees. That will be part of phase 2. So here I am. It tells me I have 2 documents. This is what I want to file. I'm going to submit the filings.
So a couple things happened during that submission.
I want to show the myths here. Okay, so once you have submitted, you will be assigned a submission number, just like a bank transaction. You'll have a submission date and time. And these, we're encouraging, as low as point, I hope that will open now, that you save these. You know, you can save these in a directory, electronic, or you can print them out, although we're not in terms of e-filing paper on demand world. But this is important if there's ever a question about your filing date and time. And Lois, do you have something you want to add there?
No, you're making the point this point about saving this confirmation. This will prove to the court temporary electronic filing rules state that if you can prove that you have submitted this and there's some technical problem with the system, you will get your date. So don't just, there's kind of a way to get this back, but this is important. Had a couple of little hiccups with the system over the past year, where the first thing that I've asked the person who's filing over at the appellate defender's office is, well, what does it say on your submission? What was the exact date and time? What's that submission number? Well, when you don't have that, it's really hard to communicate. So you can save this electronically. I would save it one way or another.
One way or another.
The point I was going to make, Rex, if you're through with this,
yeah.
When you hit that submit button, just before we got this confirmation, there's 2 really important things that happened. One is that through the beauty of the internet, this filing is securely going to make its way to the clerk of the court's office. It is also going to affect the service at that time. So we had who was opposing counsel here. Whoever was opposing counsel was an e-filer. So they're going to get the served with those documents, and we added Jordan Kilby as well. Those individuals are going to get served as that submit goes out. I'm not sure how this is done. I think this is done the same way with the federal system. As soon as you submit that, the service is affected. So.
And by the time your document, let's say you sent your motion in WordPerfect or Word, or just PDF, by the time that document hits the clerk of court review, that document will have been converted to PDF if necessary, and OCR and made searchable by the time we get it. So every document coming in will be searchable. So when you go to your case, when you open up that document, it'll be a searchable document. One of the things I'll show you, here's your notification, here's the notification that this submission had occurred. Click it open, and this is to show you, that this has been submitted, okay? Okay, so now, this is the document I have submitted. Not a very wordy motion, but it does the job. Aha! So right here, you see, is the certificate of service that the system put, all right? Serve what I served, the date, here's who I served and how I served them. See, and all of this is just information that was added. You see, here's email delivery. Now, I did this as staff for Michael Moore. So the certificate of service says electronically signed by me, the staff person, on behalf. Okay.
Does the other side get the same certificate of service?
Yes. Yes. All right. So essentially, that has been sent off to the clerk. Goes to the clerk review. When the clerk files it in, it gets sent to the court. The court itself, the electronic order gets routed to the justices. The justices review this. They sign the order electronically, and then e-file with the clerk their order. So here's an example of a motion which has, and an order which has been signed. And here, you'll see on your proposed order, the file stamp up here. As part of the document preparation document that is in the handout that was Lois made earlier, for your proposed orders, take off the date block and the signature block, because you'll see this is what the justice's signatures look like. Electronically signed by our fake Chief Justice, Mike McGrath, staging, and it has the date and signature in the lower right-hand side. So that's especially for staff when you're preparing. No certificates of service and no signature and date blocks, because you can't match that up on your proposed orders. And if you CC folks or whatever, you can just keep that lower right-hand side open. So that is the final.
Call the proposed order, what you see for this.
Pardon me?
The judge signs it, justice signs it.
No, it'll be in order at that point. Yeah, they enter their own docket entries, just like the external filer would.
That's a consequence of our testing environment. So we create a document and we want to do this quickly, and we're unimaginative enough to call our proposed order a proposed order. But if we were submitting this to the court, we would definitely list that as an order.
Yeah.
And put the appropriate language in. So I just want to get through one. Rex was just starting about these document prep tips, and then we'll have we'll get through this really quickly and have questions. Rex already mentioned you can do a Word Perfect, or PDF document. One of the things that we have found is that law offices have been in existence for many, many years, and they had, when computers first came on the scene, they started creating templates that have been in use since the 1990s and into the 2000s, and they're really, really, really old versions of Word and Word Perfect. And sometimes they just need to be updated to the newest version, and it's simply saving as the newest version. But we have had a few of those problems where it just trips up. It will not go through through this process that we check things with. It's got to be virus-free, and it's got to be not password protected. Okay, if you submit a document that's password protected, guess what? It won't go anywhere. You won't even get it filed. So if you're trying to file this at 11:59:59, you're going to be you're just going to be out of luck. Virus free, the same thing. So as soon as you're submitting this, even before it gets to the clerk of court's queue to look at, it's going to go through all of these, the processing, as Rex was saying, so that it can be OCR'd and changed into a PDF format. So if you're scanning documents, sometimes you have to scan documents and you're scanning images. Don't submit a picture, right? There's different ways that you can scan. If you have any questions about it, I'm happy to help you. Almost any modern scanner, and I haven't seen one in years that won't scan into a PDF format. So you can set that up. OCR, I just lost it. Optical character recognition. So we want these to be searchable as well, rather than being a picture, which is also an image. And then the reserved portion of the documents, Rex has already talked about this. The upper right-hand corner is going to get a file stamp. The lower right-hand corner is going to get a justice or judge signature, and you don't have to add these blank case numbers or signature lines. The case number is going to go in that file stamp that goes in the upper right-hand corner. We already talked about the certificate of service will be created automatically. I just mentioned that sometimes old templates need to go to new versions. And here is our final screen. And you can see that there's contact information for both Rex and for me on the screen. I hope that, I'm not sure if that's legible on your printout or not. But I know there's a question over here.
I'll just answer which document does the opposing party get, the one that I submitted as the attorney, or the one that is now scanned and put into the record?
They get the document that you submit with the certificate of service. Just like in paperwork.
Sorry, I got you. If he submits a Word document, though, they get a PDF, they don't get a Word.
That's correct.
Okay, just in the with the certificate of service.
That's correct.
But there's nothing with a file stamp like a uniform copy.
Correct. Right, it is not filed.
So the only service that you have is that printout certificate of service filing.
Your submission number and your confirmation or submission. Submission confirmation. You know, go ahead, let's see.
So if a party isn't an e-filer, then I must mail paper,
Just like you do now.
okay? And then, do I sign my motion and then scan it? My motion is not signed otherwise.
Well, it's a great question. In the temporary e-filing rules, talk about signature. Again, your username and password, if you're an e-filer, is a signature. How it should be displayed, the e-filing rules have adopted the /s/ and the type name as the signature convention. So anywhere you would write your name, for like an attorney, use the /s/ type name convention.
In my motion.
In the motion.
I would type that on a signature line.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we see folks that will maybe italicize those so it stands out a little bit. It doesn't have to, but that's.
Go out right now to the Supreme Court public docket and look at how, for example, the appellate defender has been submitting things, and you can see that there's lots of examples.
So the federal system, they'll put it, I think it's in blue, there'll be a document number and date filed at the top of the document. That's not happening in this system.
No, the file stamp that you see is the only, and it's only on the lead page, is the document file stamp with the file number and our file stamp.
So other than the docket, this will be an item in the docket listing for the case, but there's no unique number identifying the document other than that docket number.
Well, visible to, you know, once it's on the from the docket page, that's correct. That you would not see, like on every number or every page of a document, a unique number, watermarked or appearing on it. Thank you.
So, I'm sure if you mentioned earlier also, but how far along are you? Is the goal to implement this all across different portions of the, how far along?
So we are funded through a pilot phase. So the pilot includes the courts that we talked about, the 4th Judicial District, the 10th, the Yellowstone Justice Court. We are approaching, I purposefully vague about, I don't have a date in mind, and I'm not going to get pinned down to that, but my fervent hope, and it looks somewhat likely, is that we will be walking into Missoula County District Court during first quarter 2016. There's one sticking point that just came up this week, or I would be actively pursuing some dates with them. But again, there's we are not going to subject our court community to something that's unworkable. So we're doing our diligence where we have committed many resources to making sure that we have a good system to walk forward. So as far as dates go, after we get Missoula County District Court, we'll start doing the rest of them. The pilot, at the end of the pilot, there will be reports and recommendations that will go back to the Commission on Technology. I can't imagine any other outcome than for the Commission on Technology to say, you know, bring it on. That's where we go.
Is this an enhancement to full court or a totally separate program?
Full court is a case management system at the trial courts. And there is a very tight integration for the clerks with the case management system. It's one of the things that makes it very tricky to do. But it's not an enhancement to full court. It's an integration. It's integrated with full court. Just like it's integrated at the Supreme Court, it's integrated with their case management system.
I noticed that the daily orders of opinions is kind of difficult sometimes to figure out which brief goes with which motion. In the federal court, you can file them linked. Will they be linked here so that you have several motions and orders and briefs and things and replies and responses to be able to sort them out?
You know, I don't believe so. We should hop back into E-Filing.
Okay.
And take a look if they have a threaded view. Our case management system allows for that.
I just wanted to, someone had a question about how the file stamp is going to look, and I just wanted to point that out. So here is the case number. It's not in blue, it's in black and white, and the file stamp at the trial court level will also look similar to this, and we'll have the case number at the bottom. So
Let's try the case view maybe. Yeah. And see if there is on this filter, see the filter? See what that document only, okay. That is not.
that's for a trial court specifically. The public view is not going to change because we don't do the file. So
Right, but I was thinking of this, which is the same. There's an order, I mean, which party, whose orders, that's order granting extension of time to whom, and if there is a motion for a stay and somebody else is moving for an extension of time and all the orders and things are just called motion and order and stuff like that. Well,
You know,
especially in a trial court when you have multiple motions and briefs and things.
Well, all I can tell you about it is that our therefore, right now, this is what you're gonna see, is the docket entry type and subtype.
So you have to actually open and read to figure out whether this is
Yeah,
response.
I'm not sure about the lower.
I will tell you, at the district court level, as these dockets get created through the e-filing system, it will say, e-filed by Michael Moore, e-filed by Jody Kilby. So you will see that, but you're essentially just getting a listing of what the docket is from the case management system. We really have to wrap this up
Yeah.
immediately. Can I answer something
Yeah,
quickly?
so the description that you see there, though, is not a document caption.
No,
That's just a.
it's a
expansion,
document,
it's
yeah.
Generic.
Docket entry type and subtype. There was one more question.
This is how to manage.
Yeah. How to manage.
You know, there's a technical